Oh yeah, good morning for you.
Yeah, it's 9 a.m. here, so.
All right, we are going to talk about the eDesign process today. This is just something that we get so many questions all the time that we figured it would be a great episode for us to talk about some things. We're going to keep it kind of short and sweet today. We say that, and then an hour later, we're still on the call, so we'll see what we can do. But if you guys do have questions, go ahead and add them in the chat area. Lauren is here. She's going to kind of field those for us since we might not have them up on our screen right now. So welcome. I am joined with Sarah and Kelly again. And we all do something a little bit different in our process. So that's why we wanted to kind of pool our ideas and give you guys a few examples of how we do things. So good morning, guys, or afternoon. Hi.
Hi.
All right. Can you guys see my screen, the presentation screen?
No.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Just your pretty face.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I asked because totally thought you could see this. All right.
There we go.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So just a little recap. If you guys are new here and you haven't watched a few of our previous series here, this is really just a limited series that we're working on right now due to the pandemic, and it just kind of came out of necessity and our desire to really want to share, how we do things since we've all been in the fields working virtually for a while. So we always talk about our backgrounds. Maybe we can skip that for today. If you guys want to skip it. Yeah, well, you can see that there. But I'm going to start, and then these ladies are going to go over their process afterwards, okay? So I'm going to just talk about self-hosted design. Now, I work with clients directly. I don't do any VA work, virtual assistant work, and I don't work with, designers typically. In this capacity, in my other life, I work only with designers, so it's kind of funny, but I work one-on-one with, homeowners typically is my ideal client. So my process is self-hosted. And what self-hosted means is that I use my website that I'm already paying for to host the entire process for my client's project and presentation. So I use Squarespace for my personal site, WordPress for eDesign Tribe, but I love Squarespace because it's so easy to use and to edit the pages. I started with literally no background in website development when I first created it. I want to say it's been about 4 years now that I created my website myself. And it's just an adapting and evolving piece. It changes all the time. So I figured if I had to do a presentation and I had to build it anyway, why not just use my website and keep the traffic and keep everything driving, to my own site versus to a third party, something like Ivy or Mydoma or Design Files. I just chose to, I did test them, but I felt that it wasn't right for me and for my personal business. And I honestly, when I first started, could not take on another cost per month. I just could not afford that. So what I did was I really adapted everything to use low cost or free programs such as Pinterest, Trello, and then the other programs that I was using anyway. So Typeform for client intake, and you could also use Interact, which is where my quiz is. And then for the Trello aspect is how I maintain my back end. So that's my project management. I basically have one set template that has, okay, here's the client onboarding experience, here's all the links to all those things. And then for each client, they each get their own board, and that's how I track all the progress. For Pinterest, that's where I create all these secret little boards for everything. And this week, Design in 5 is releasing on the platform. So that's going to change everything. So we say all this stuff today, but literally next week, my entire process for client collaboration is about to change and be so much more streamlined. Okay, so why do I even bother with being self-hosted? I know for some of you, it sounds like it's so many things, but honestly, it's really not. It is, programs that you're already using, like I just said, and I have full control. I can adapt every element to be, first of all, branded in the way that I want it to brand, and have the flow be exactly how I want it to be. So as designers, we are generally control freaks, and we want to make sure that every step of the process is our own. So when I create a template page for my client's project, I build it in the way that works for me. So in my self-hosted eDesign course through eDesign U, I have templates for both Squarespace and WordPress, but I really want you guys to run with them and adapt them to be exactly what works for you and for your business model, because that might not be exactly how I work. But it's wonderful because you're not chained to somebody else's process, which you might be with a third-party management software that doesn't totally understand your process for eDesign collaboration. You know, they're great for back-end things, and these ladies love them. They use, you know, different things, and we'll talk about that in a second, but it's not for everybody to do that. And not everybody can afford another program when you're first starting out. So that, out of necessity, that is exactly why I went with self-hosted. I was already paying for the website, so I figured I might as well just brand the crap out of that thing and make it exactly how I want it to be. You also can back up your websites so you never lose your work. You should always be backing up and saving all that stuff so you own it. You always have access to that. Your clients always have access to it. They can share it with their friends and their family if they really enjoyed working with you and showing the process. And that's how I get a lot of referrals, is they say, look how easy this was for me to collaborate with my virtual designer. Here's my project page, which is just linked to a URL within my website, and then they can send it off, and their friends are like, well, that's awesome, I need to hire her too. And that's how I get a lot of referrals that way, because they can see things and they can send it to their husband or wife or whoever else is joined in on the project seamlessly. You can look at it from a phone, an iPad. It's just a website, you know, it's just a page on your website. So very, very easy to use. So I'm just going to talk about my process real quick. So first I send a proposal. I create that in Canva. It's actually a template that I already have created. I just change out things to be, you know, unique to that, that client that I'm trying to get. And then I don't do it for everything. I don't always do a proposal. It's really for the multi-room projects, which tend to be the projects that I'm getting the most often, is multi-room. And then I just do breakdowns for different phases, different price points, you know, different package options. So like maybe they don't want a full render. Maybe they just want to do like a, you know, maybe they don't want a full render for a guest bedroom, but they want one for the living room. So I give them the option to mix and match in the proposal. And honestly, Canva is like your best friend, and you can do it for free. Like you can create graphics in a second. We created this in Canva. You can create videos and GIFs now. You can do that for, you know, fun little things for you to post on your site. So then the next phase after they're like, yep, I'm ready, let's sign off, is I create their client portal within my site. On that portal page, I have their invoice, which links over to Wave. Wave connects to Stripe. Both of them are free. You can also use QuickBooks or PayPal or whatever else you do for an invoicing system. And then I send my contract in DocuSign, HelloSign, or PandaDoc. I have to confirm on PandaDoc, but I know DocuSign and HelloSign, you get each month, like up to 3 to 5, I want to say, free. You can send free contracts, so you can do that for free as well as you're kind of growing before you're ready to start paying for that service. So you can also link those right in your client's portal page. So step 1 for me is their homework, and that includes the contract, the collection of payment, and I embed their, their client intake questionnaire. So the client intake questionnaire is something that I totally customized and built in Typeform, and actually there's a template, a full template for that in my self-hosted course as well. that you guys can copy and use and adapt for yourself. And then I just embed that right there. So they literally on this landing page that I create for their project have all of their onboarding information. It's totally customized and formatted for the way that I work, the way that I brand. My entire process is all in there. And then I work my way down that page. So all the while on the back end, I have a Trello board going that's keeping track of everything as we work through the process. So then we kind of work and I present the concept boards and then I have them sign off. Again, it's another embedded type form that collects all the information regarding their feedback. So you might do this through email, you might do this through a chat feature. I have, after I've kind of adapted my process, I just really prefer to do type form because it collects the information and then it stores it so that I can download it for later and always have that paper trail to look back on in one area. So I love type form. If you're going to invest in something, like I use it for interactive blog posts to collect emails. You can do regular opt-ins using type form. You can't really do a style quiz because it doesn't calculate I can't remember what it is, but scoring, it doesn't really calculate that. So that's why I use Interact, but you can also use Interact as a opt-in and also as a onboarding questionnaire if you do it right. So if you are looking for just one program, Typeform or Interact are great for that, and then you can use it for multiple things. And then everything after that is right directly on my site. So now with the 3D walkthroughs for client projects, I embed those 3D walkthroughs with the hotspots for them to shop from. And then with Design in 5, it'll also have a, I'm gonna show you, I'm doing a sample right now. Oh, I gotta stop the share. I can't see any of my tabs underneath, sorry. Okay, so this is just a sample that I'm doing for the onboarding for the Design in 5 launch this week. But you can basically embed your 3D walkthrough that you make in the eDesign Tribe render software, and then you can, these are linked to your shopping list, which if you're doing anything from the eShop will go to your affiliate. And then you can just, if you're a featured member, you have the option here to embed your shopping list below it. Light members won't have this, but featured designers do have this. Light members have a shop the look board, which is branded to eDesign Tribe, but it's, you know, generic looking. So all that I'll go over later, but all of these link directly to your affiliate, to the product that we're adding. And that's exactly what I embed in my client's project. And now I just totally lost the link under this thing again, but that's how that works. So everything is right there. And then we do a follow-up email sequence after that, and just kind of make sure that everything went well with ordering and the entire process, so that we can make sure that they're happy with it. And then, you know, try and collect your, oh my God, my brain is not working today, guys. I'm sorry. I've only had one cup of coffee. But you would collect your, what is it? Reviews. So you can send them a link to, you know, get your review after that. And yeah, that's my entire process. I literally just use my website and because I'm already paying for it. So that is self-hosted. Is there any questions before we move on to Kelly's?
Okay, so mine has been a little bit of a trial and error, and build, take off, rebuild it, do it again. So I started out as a definitely not self-hosted. So my first step at this point is most designers and homeowners, they will reach out to me directly. I've been lucky enough to be able to start to get your guys' attention. But for a while, a lot of it was commenting on Facebook, really kind of seeking you guys out, hoping to get some attention. And then when it does, I get a contact email. If you guys remember those first email contact forms that showed up in your email, I was like, oh my gosh, someone reached out to me. I'm so excited. How do I do this now? Now what do I do? That was, I think, for like the first 6 months to a year, it was probably one of the most exciting things because it's like, oh, someone wants to work with me. So what's the next step then? So the next step was I generally follow up with an email. And at that point in time, I'll ask you, hey, have you ever worked with a designer before? I'll ask if it is a design client, it will be the, have you ever worked with a designer before? Tell me a little bit about your project. And when I get that back, then I will say, okay, let's go ahead and set up a Zoom call, or let's jump on the phone. I want to hear a little bit more about your project. And at that point in time, I've got my handy dandy little notebook here that you can't see. And we will have a chat and I will write everything down. And if it sounds good and I have a decent idea of what your project entails and I think it's within the scope and my current capacity, I will then put together a proposal, either via my hourly. So I require for, if it's first time designer or designer to designer, depending on how big the project is, I require an hourly retainer, and I call this like my buy-in. So, and that is if it's really just a design project. So if you're looking for consulting and help with your drawings or anything like that, that is hourly. If I am doing renderings, that is the a la carte pricing, and I will put a formal proposal together based off of everything that is provided to me. Now for a la carte, if I'm working with a designer, everything needs to be provided up front. You are provided a Dropbox folder, which at that point I would email to you the link, and you would give me everything. So before you even start working with me, I need to have those specifications provided. I need all of your takeoffs. Every photo you can take, if you guys decide to work with a rendering artist, take more photos than you think you need. Like, take a picture of the corner of that trim work in that really weird doorway. Just send it, because you'd be surprised how wonky or how little information sometimes can happen. And at that point in time, I'll turn around and say, okay, based off of this, here's the scope of work. I have then put together a proposal in Dubsado. If you guys don't know what it is and you're not looking for self-hosted, Dubsado is really a great choice. You can build proposals in it, and that's what I've put together, where it's literally a 3-page proposal where the first one is the form along with my formal amount, and the scope of work is listed, and then the designer or the client fills out what that scope of work is or their project details. That is then linked to the contract that I have linked to that proposal. So what that person is filling out in the form is then added to the contract along with specific details if I haven't added them. Once that is signed, that is then gone immediately to payment, and it is paid immediately. So there's no back and forth. Okay, now that I have this, let me send this to you. It completely streamlines the process. The money is in my account within a few days. It's linked up to my Square and my QuickBooks account. So once I have received payment and I have all of the specifications, that is when I provide the turnaround time. So that is when I will say, okay, starting from today, you can expect your final deliverables from 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever my timeline is, and we'll have discussed that previously. You can expect it by this date. And between that point in time and the final deliverable date, the first drafts and or red line based drawings will be provided. Any edits will be submitted, and then either the final renderings will be processed or the final drawings will be finalized, and you will receive them along with the final invoice. I can say right now, I am working as more of a consulting base. So it's hourly in the sense of if you want my help, it's more or less you're scheduling it through my Acuity and purchasing it in advance. So
yeah. Awesome. It's interesting. I like how different. All right, Sarah.
So my process is a little bit like Kelly's, but not at all. If I don't have to talk to you on the phone, I won't. And I've been working with some designers for 8 years that I've never met in person and I've never talked to on the phone. So if that's how you want to run your business without Zoom calls and phone calls, you can do it totally. So I onboard with either a phone call or email. Most of my work is referrals from people I've worked with for a bunch of years. I don't always provide a project estimate, but I do this. It's usually the newer, younger designers that kind of want that until they've started working with me for a while, and then they kind of just know. But for the most part, I rarely do an estimate. And after that, I also use Dubsado like Kelly. She's actually the one that kind of like introduced it to me, and I only use it for my letter of agreement and to send out a request for a referral. And I also do, if you schedule a meeting with me or you schedule any kind of training sessions, that all goes through Dubsado as well. And what's really cool about that is you can set that up to where they can't schedule it until they pay you. So it's a great way to really like protect your time. And it all links to my QuickBooks and everything's all, you know, just like Kelly, I use PayPal though, but it all communicates. So technology is amazing when you can use it right. So after that gets sent out, the project begins once I've received that signed LOA, the retainer's been paid, and all the details for the project have been provided, just like Kelly. Like I don't start that clock until I have everything. And then I look over all of it and kind of provide like, okay, this is ETA for the first pass on drawings. And at a minimum, I'm 2 weeks out. Sometimes it gets longer. And, you know, I have designers that are perfectly fine waiting. And if they're not, then I'll go ahead and pass them along to somebody else. Because, you know, I understand, you know, sometimes 3.5 weeks is a long time to wait for something. So after, you know, we've gone through the ETA for the first draft, after I send those out, it's, you know, maybe the same day or a day or two, or even like a week later, that I'll get red line drawings or notes provided for revisions on renderings. And then I try to get those revisions back within 2 to 3 days, depending on, you know, the scope of the project, how many changes there are, just so we can get everybody getting them to their meeting on time with all the information they need. And once they sign off on those final revisions, I go ahead and produce the final drawings, and then I don't invoice again until my next invoicing period. So I keep my designers basically on a 2-week invoicing period because I don't want to deal with money all the time. I just want to sit down, do it all at once, kick out the invoices, everything gets, you know, it's this whole process. But felt like I kind of rushed through that a bit because it's a bit redundant, but that's kind of my process.
Sarah, there's a question in the chat asking you a specific question.
Okay.
How do clients utilize you, and can you talk about cost?
So my clients are strictly designers. I don't work with homeowners. I enjoy the process of working with designers much more than I do with the end user. And so some of my designers have built my service into their standard package. Like they don't do any kitchen work without renderings from me. And that's just from, you know, previous projects. They kind of know they're looking at like about $1,500 in my fees to build into their project. So it really, I think it depends on, you know, the level of service a designer is wanting to provide, and is a rendering standard for them. And in some cases it's not, you know, some designers just don't see that to be a feasible expense for every project, but some do. So it all depends on, I guess, their business model and what they want to offer their clients.
And I do think that we went pretty far in depth in the, what was it, the third episode with pricing models. I think we talked a lot. I'm not sure who asked that question and came through as user, but we talked a lot about that if you want a little bit more detail. Designers that work with designers, you suggest investing in a software management software like Dubsado?
Ideally, yeah. And it's, I mean, it's $250 a year. I mean, it might be a little bit more now, like closer to 300. But if you can afford it now, go for it. If not, just, you know, you can use any of those platforms that Jenna suggested in the same way until you get to a place to where, you know, you can afford that overhead. But anything that helps you, you know, track your time, track your LOAs, track all that stuff, it's worth it when you can afford it. So I would definitely have that as a goal.
Well, the nice thing too, so self-hosted is awesome. I started having self-hosted for when I do like actual group training so that they can log in and rewatch and do that through my Squarespace. But when it comes down to billing and all those sorts of things, you 100% want to track your hours and you want to have a paper trail. Dubsado streamlines that for you in a sense that you can set all your templates up. And once you have that set up, you can literally just have the same link. So technically, if I really wanted to, I could post in our Facebook group, hey guys, I'm taking clients. Anyone want to sign up? I could pop a link and you guys could have a free-for-all just signing up for my hours. I think I'd be a little overwhelmed, maybe. I don't know. I don't really want people to have that link, but it's possible. Rather than having to build everything, it's just your initial investment is building that single setup. So it really comes down to what's easier for you and where your time and your own, you know, how organized are you? You know, Jenna has to be insanely organized. If being organized is maybe not your strong suit, then having a software that helps you do that so that you can streamline it, maybe worth that little extra fee.
Yeah. And you should, somebody asked if you should be tracking your time. You should always track your time, even if you're doing flat rate. You need to know how long things are taking you.
Somebody asked what you're using to track that. Does Dubsado track your time?
Dubsado does it, and it'll kick it right to the invoice.
That's cool.
Yeah, you can have it. So the nice thing too is for each client. So if you're doing designer to designer, you can put one client in and you can give them multiple projects. And then as you're doing it, and it links it to QuickBooks too. So QuickBooks is reading that as hourly charges as well. And it really helps it in general. And you don't have to you can have it where those hours are just kind of floating somewhere, and then you sign it to that client. Dubsado also has a client portal attached to it, so they can go back and read all of their previous invoices, download it. You can do your Dropbox link in there. You can really set it up for them if you wanted to. I mean, shoot, you could even do 360 views if you wanted to figure out how to do that one. So, yeah.
Okay, so Mimi has a question. If I would create a kitchen in the platform software, could I hire you to review the details and then convert it into CAD file to get over to the contractor? Is there a better way to go about this?
So the platform will export like your floor plan in CAD, but not the elevations. And the only issue is, I'm sure you've noticed, there's no fractional inches in the platform. So I wouldn't convert anything. I would just draw it all over. And it would actually be really quick because CAD's just super fast. So, but yes, Mimi.
And then we had some questions about email too, and Lauren's been answering them. I do use ActiveCampaign. You can set up basically workflows and automations through that. So I personally have not set them up for individual clients just because I use my main inbox for those clients' projects because it's so specific to where we are in our process. And then I might give them extra details or like make that personal connection versus having an automation for the client's project. But I do know a lot of people do that. So it definitely can be done. I'm working with Curio Electrico right now for basically our client onboarding for the eDesign Tribe, and her automations are set up for our entire process, which is very cool. And I do like it. It's just for eDesign, for working one-on-one with clients. I just like that personal touch with the email that's not generic. Coming from that, I was watching a video on Dubsado on YouTube just before the webinar. It's great for eDesign clients, yeah. And HoneyBook, you know, I had another marketer actually that I used to use, and she used HoneyBook, and it seems to me that it works very similar to Dubsado. I haven't personally used it, but I liked the look of it from the client standpoint. Okay. There was a question before about designed in 5, and if I could go over that. I'm not going to. I'm sorry. I wasn't prepared to share any of it, and I literally have 10 bajillion tabs up right now, so I'm not going to go through that. But it's coming this week, and there's so much, you know, videos that are going to be associated with it. So you will get a step-by-step walkthrough if you are using it, and then I will create a video for people that aren't on the platform yet, so you guys can get an inside peek. But I'm not prepared to do that today. I'm sorry.
Just know that it's awesome.
It is awesome. It's literally, so, okay, so let me explain it this way. I've worked as a self-hosted eDesigner for, I don't even know. I've been doing eDesign for 5 years, and then on my own for a while. So I have worked through the entire self-hosted process, but there's little things that take time, like putting together that shopping list and connecting your renders to that shopping list, and also passive income, creating boards in a second with other affiliate programs that earn a higher commission rate. So those pieces that we're missing from this process is exactly what this program does. So it can go with whatever your current process is. So if you're working with Dubsado or HoneyBook or any of the other software management tools, it links to that. It's totally open-ended. It's just a way for you to streamline. And yes, it goes more towards self-hosted because you can embed your shopping list as a featured member right in your client portal page, but you can also use them for blog posts and do shopping feeds that way, or you can send them to Pinterest and you can earn, you know, commission that way. So there's a ton of different ways for you to earn money, which is not what existed before. It's like, here's your project management software, you use it for your one-on-one client. This is to earn you money passively and adapt it to your client's projects in any way that you want to, because everybody here has a different and unique process, which is exactly why we talked about this today, because though we work in a similar space, we are very different in the way that we actually collaborate with our end users. Okay. Mimi, would it be efficient, cost-effective to sketch a layout and then send you the finishes, or how I mentioned before with me sending you a render?
Just send me everything, Mimi, and we'll talk.
What are you working on over there, Mimi? I want to know what.
Right? What do you got going on? She's busy.
And then Jordan, YouTube has Dubsado versus HoneyBook comparisons. Okay, that's cool. They already have comps on it, so nice.
And I think with something like that, if you're going to use one of those, what do they call them, a CRM, I guess, see how many functions and features it has to you so that you're only really using minimal platforms. You know, like if it can do all this like scheduling and your invoicing, all that stuff, and provide all those things for you, and you're paying one fee and you're really getting your money's worth, that's what I recommend, is like, what features are you going to use? What features do you need?
And on that, that's why we use ActiveCampaign, because I did start with MailChimp and then my list outgrew MailChimp very quickly. So I had to start paying for it anyway. So I exported my list from MailChimp, brought it over to ActiveCampaign, You can do stuff with your online store. You can do triggers when somebody like opens an email, if you want to send them other things. It's all CRM. It tags things if they like open chat with you through your, because there's a chat feature that you can embed on your website. There's so many things that you can do with ActiveCampaign that does act as CRM that it really kind of embodies a lot of that. And you can link stuff with, I never know how to say it, Zapier,
Zapier. Yeah. The other thing too to be aware of is that anyone who has Squarespace, just know that they have now built in email marketing, and it's really a minimal cost. So what you're paying for is their blasts option. You get automated, and you can build workflows. So if somebody does do things, if you have your Squarespace work set up as an e-commerce site, you can actually set up automations, and that's not included as part of their email list. They would have, so you can have 5,000 people on your email list, and Squarespace doesn't dock automations from your email capacity. So that's just your blasts.
They didn't have that when I first signed up with them. It's like last year.
That just launched last couple months.
Just been in like a couple months, and in all honesty, like you can send up to 5 emails with 5,000 to 5,000 people each month, and you're paying $12.
Wow.
And that doesn't include their automation. So anyone who's been getting emails from my company, they've all been formatted using Squarespace in the last 6 weeks.
Cool. That's good to know. Because before when they first launched it, it was like, but that's
you can have like multiple lists, and you can click all of them. It's not like MailChimp where you have multiple lists and each person listed in each one is counted as a separate contact. It doesn't read it that way. It'll automatically figure it out. I'm saying that, but if anyone is getting multiple emails from me that are the same, just let me know, because I'm assuming that it's not doing.
MailChimp, because you're paying for duplicate people that are on duplicate lists. So if somebody was taking my style quiz multiple times and getting on different lists, I was paying for them. And then it's just a cluster on the back end. Like it was so hard to figure out MailChimp, but then they changed everything and made it like super more complicated. So while ActiveCampaign is complicated, it's so worth it and they have like one-on-one support. You can reach out to them, but this is awesome to know about Squarespace, because I was on there the other day and it was like, try for free, my email list is 7,000 for that, but.
Jenna, it is so easy. Literally, you write a blog post. At the end of your blog post in your Squarespace account, you can click, I want it to be an email. It automatically formats that email, and you can set it up and schedule it for yourself.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So, nerding out. Nerd time.
Okay, if this is over your head, start with the first episode of Brunch and Banter. We literally started from the beginning there, and we've kind of accumulated our knowledge here. This is our 5th episode. So if you start at the beginning, they were a little bit longer. We'll probably cut this one off here soon. But yeah, it was, you can start there.
And we all offer a mentor option. So you can schedule the opportunity to talk to us if you really need to. We have that as an ability on our websites. So if maybe one of us, you really emulate with one of us and you think that you're like our style, don't be afraid to schedule a session with us, because we've obviously kind of figured out our systems. And if you want to figure out what that is, we can help you with that too.
And that's here. So eDesign U is where I have my mentor programs. To be totally honest, I'm not really taking them right now because I got a kid here. So I'm just like working on weekends. But I will schedule them. And then Sarah and Kelly's information, this is where you can find it. And this is a clickable PDF. So I will upload this to the video when we put this on YouTube later. Okay, the best features looking for CRM. I mean, I just like the fact that I can tag the same user for different lists and different triggers within eDesign Tribe. So if you are on my list, and this is the same for my regular list for clients, if they were to take my style quiz and get coastal, but then they take it again and they get modern, then they're going to be tagged for both of those automations. But then you can tell it like, okay, they've already gotten this email, don't send this email to them again, you know, all that stuff. It's pretty complex, but you can start out with just the basics, like add people to a list, send them an email. And then as you start going, you can get more in depth in that. I also like the fact that you can embed the chat feature. And if you go to edesigntribe.com or edesignu.com, that is a active campaign chat feature right there. And it connects to my email. So I think it's like $7 a month to add that. But you can capture people coming to your website, talk with them live, which I never catch them live because I'm not just hanging out on chat, but I can email them afterwards. It gives you the option to just kick back an email. Do you have a schedule as to when you start a project for clients? For example, if you have 5 people that want to use your service and there's no way to do 5 projects at a time, do you guys have kind of a system for that?
I do. So, so for me, I have my calendar. So I'm a Mac user. So I have iCal. So I have a process where I have different calendars based off of where I am in a project. So if I'm in the process where a client has reached out and said, hey, I have a tentative project, I'm really interested, and we start that process, I will add them to the calendar based off of just roughly where I'm at. It's tentative, they haven't locked in the calendar. And then I'll have active projects that are in progress and whatnot. I know what my capacity is. I know the extent of the scope for each one of my projects, and I have to be really honest with myself and my clients. So for me, I have found that, Karen, you said 5 projects is a little overwhelming. If you were to put them on a calendar and you were to say, my capacity each week is 2, you stagger them. So if you have to turn around on that calendar and say, the due date for this one is due Friday. So once I finish that, then I can pick up the next one on Monday, put that block in and let them know, hey, I am completely booked for the next 2 weeks. If you need this deliverable, you can expect it by X date, as long as I have everything in hand by X date. And then just basically push their block back by every day that they don't give you everything. That is the best way to do it. It holds everyone accountable, and it really helps you from getting overwhelmed because you've put those processes in place. And remember, you make your own monsters. So if you want to be yes ma'am and please everybody, and you want to be a crazy, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, because you will get burnt out. We can all tell you, we've all been burnt out from saying yes to people and being taken advantage of. Then say yes to everybody, but something's going to give, and your mental capacity and your work and your what you've built as a product, you don't want that to be it. So if it's down to just figuring out how to set that up in your calendar, and don't be afraid to say no. You're like, it's good to be busy, and if someone wants to work with you, they will 100% wait.
Totally.
I think a lot of us that have come from the Laurel and Wolfs or the Decorists and, you know, that background where they're like, here, how many projects can you possibly take in a week? I was taking 14 to 20 projects a week, which is insane. And doing that with, you know, a little kid, because I had her, you literally have no time to sleep, and the stress factor and the amount of money in return is just not worth it. So if you're raising your prices and doing this, you know, in a price point where you can actually make more money and take less clients, you have to find that happy balance and really be honest with yourself as to, like, Lauren, I remember that life. That's the thing, they stack projects on you, and then your quality level goes down, your time commitment, and then you start to get resentful of your clients, and nobody wants that. They create these designer monsters, and then all the designers fall off. But if you're doing this for yourself, be honest with yourself. Exactly what Kelly just said.
Yeah. And Lauren just asked if the turnaround for each client is different. Yeah, it can be based off of what my current workload is. So because that is why, in my opinion, you do not post on your website that you have a 3 or 4 day turnaround, or you have a 2-week turnaround. Or what you do is you say, hey, you know, my average is this, but depending on my workload at the time that you commission work with me, it may be extended based off of how many current projects I have. I will be honest with you from the time you set in that commission as to what that is. And as long as you provide the final deliverables for me to do the work within that scope, that time frame, I will get it to you. But if you don't provide everything and you keep adding changes and updates and stuff outside of what was agreed upon, that's going to extend it as well. Remember, you did this because you wanted to be your own boss. You're not doing this so that you have somebody who dropped their own ball and wants it done quickly. You're doing it because you're setting your own standards. So it's not up to you to meet their deadlines because they didn't figure it out. It's up to them to provide it to you so that you can provide them the quality product that they're hiring you for. That's for designer to designer. That's for clients as well, because we've all had those horror homeowners who can't make a decision, but then at the same time are getting really ticked off because the tile guy is showing up and tile needs to be ordered and it's a hot mess. So I think the hardest part about being a business owner is learning when to say no and putting your foot down, and sometimes you can't make everybody happy.
You're awesome. Okay, if there's no more questions, I gotta go because, you know, all this. So thank you guys so much for coming and joining us today. Yeah, I'm just reading all the comments. Okay, thank you guys. Have an awesome Sunday, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. So
Bye.
Bye, guys.
bye.